Hey everybody, Koricon Nala here, and we're going to be doing our walkthrough of the puzzles from Loot Crate's Secret Order of Keys. And I apologize that I'm late in getting this in. I know I've only got 2 days until the deadline, so hopefully it helps some of you. Otherwise, maybe it's entertaining to the rest of you. But I promise next month that I will get it up a lot sooner. My Loot Crate came late. I didn't get it until like the 24th or something like that, and you know, the last week was crazy. So I have no excuse, just I'm sorry, and I promise to get next month's walkthrough up a lot sooner. But let's jump into it. We got the investigate loot for solving everything last month, which is nice and cool. And the ongoing thing with the primal loot crate from from March, I got another email saying that they had some manufacturing issues, and it will be arriving later than they originally hoped. They provided a $3 credit for any of your future Loot Crate purchases. Which is cool. I don't know if I would use it anytime soon, but it does kind of tell us that these things cost or are worth about $3 is what I'm assuming. And also I wanted to show you a picture of my desk when I was trying to figure these out. I have this thing right here. It's like a big desk that I put out so I can spread out, but that was my desk. You can see all of the stuff spread out, and that's actually kind of more neat than it was for a while. But let's jump into the first one. It's called Iroh's Advice. And we're going to be using our head pin from Avatar Aang. He's got an arrow on his forehead, so it makes perfect sense that you would use him as a directional device. But you're going to use him with the colored letters on this, and basically you're going to start with his head in the direction that he is, and then you're going to use this thing, which has the answer on it, so I'm not going to show it to you, but it has the direction and color of what each movement that you're going to do with his head. So the first one, he's facing down with a blue square in his head. That means that you start the pen on the down arrow, and if the square in front of him, which is the blue C, if that blue matches the color that's in his head on this, then you mark that letter down. So that would be C. Then you move the head into that square. So we move it down. We move the head down on the C, and then the next one has his head pointing towards the right with a red square in it. So we move his head this way, and it's pointing at the red square, which is an R. So then you would write that down, and you keep doing that. But if you come across one of the pictures, if you come across one of the colors don't match, then you don't write that letter down. You're not going to come up to that until about the 12th letter. But you can see, like here, there's a couple that are X'd out because those colors didn't match. So once you get them in, basically that was the path that I ended up taking, over the R, down to the O, down to the A, and so forth. And this is where I will get into spoilers, so I'm going to give the answer. If you do not want the spoilers, skip ahead to the next puzzle. Otherwise, you've been warned. Here we go. Crossroads of Destiny, which makes sense for Aang. So we put that in, and we get that. Crossroads of Destiny. Yay! Now for puzzle number 2, we're going to go into the Rebel alignment. This one is using our coloring book, which looks like this. And they gave us some colored pencils as well, which we're supposed to use on this one, but I didn't. I didn't want to sharpen the pencils and use them. I didn't think it was necessary. So what we're going to do is use our key here, and you can see it's got ovals and points and circles. So those are going to be R2-D2 is the rounded ones, C3PO is the pointed ones, and the rebel symbol in the middle is the circle. So the numbers correlate with which number they are, and you're going to go clockwise. So this would be R2-D2 1, that's C3PO 1, and then you go clockwise to count over. So the first one says R2-D2 1, and then R2-D2 4, and R2-D2 3, but then C3PO 3, and then rebel symbol. That is the order that you're going to connect the dots to create the letters. Now some of these, like a lot of them, are just a straight line. It means that you do all of those and connect those dots, it gives you a letter. But you see there's 3 of them. Like this bottom one has a square, but it has 2 and then 2 underneath it. And you can see on the other side there's 2 like that as well. Those mean that you're making 2 different lines. So the 6 and the 2 is going to be a line, and then the C3PO 1 and R2 4 is going to be a line. And they do that because you'll have letters like T that have 2 disconnected lines. And that's what you do, why there's 2 lines inside the square. So when you put them out, I'll show you the first one, the 1433 circle. It looks like a B, and that's your first letter. So what I did is I ended up just drawing it out. Like, I'll show you my B. I just drew it out on a piece of paper. I didn't want to mark up the cover of this or copy it and use the colored pencils. I just wrote it on a piece of paper of what they looked like, and then I went on the computer and I put them in here. But this is where I will get into spoilers, so if you don't want to know the answer, skip forward to the next solution. So here it is. Built on hope. Built on hope. And we solved our second challenge. Woohoo! Puzzle number 3. Target practice. This one is using your statue of Groot and Rocket. And what we're going to do is we are taking our paper and we're cutting it up. Now, since we started using things where we had to cut a lot of stuff in these secret order of keys, and we had a couple of months ago, we had one that was really precise. And so I went and bought an X-Acto knife. And then what I did is I just used part of the cardboard. I used some cardboard and used it to cut my pieces off so that it was a lot more precise of a cut. So if you guys are interested in the future, whenever you're doing these, and or you may want to get an X-Acto knife if you're into these puzzles so that you can do more precise cuts. It made it a lot easier than trying to use scissors. It takes a little bit of practice, so I would, if you do get one, I would take a piece of paper and start practicing so you know how much pressure and angles and how you would use it. But it made the cutting a lot easier, a lot faster. And what you're going to do is you're going to cut this one so that you leave the yellow dot parts. And then this one on the end you're going to cut up and then match up the arrows. So you have the 3 arrows and the 2 arrows, and you're going to tape them together into a circle like this. You're going to tape it into a circle. You see where the 3 arrows meet? And this is going to go around your Groot. So when you cut it up, that's what the main part will look like this. And then Groot is going to look like that. So they have these little notches in there, and what those do is they line up with parts on the thing. So the tail, the wood, and the smoke from the gun all line up on these 3 notches. And when you put him in, it looks like that. See? And then he falls into the things fall into those notches. Then you put him on the center of your other piece with everything pointing up. Then you're going to take your confidential target coordinates. And you can see on the circle they're green, and on here they're red. So for the green circle, or 2 half moons together, you match that up with the red triangle on your base part. And when you do that, you end up finding the 2 letters that this gun is pointing to, and you push that one down. So it would, if you hit one, you'd be like, pew! When you do that, you end up with those are the letters that it's pointing at. Now this is where I'm going to get into spoilers, so I will get into the answer. If you do not want to know the answer, skip forward to the next puzzle. But here is the answer. Keystone Quadrant. This one was a little confusing at first if you don't read the instructions right away, because it's really easy when you're paying a lot of attention of cutting this up and cutting this up and putting it all together, that you just automatically start lining up the pictures to match each other, and when you do that you get the wrong answer. It's easy to forget about this coordinates page that you need to use as your key. So now that we have our answer, we plugged it in, and woohoo! Now for puzzle number 4, speaker's words. We're going to need our Destiny patches, which I like those. I like the way they look. And we're going to need this part of our insert. And what we're going to do is you're going to use your patches to line them up with those lines to zero out one of the clumps. Now, I first started using just one of the patches to kind of see maybe they were pointing to something, because they tend to do a lot of things where you point at stuff. And that didn't work. I was racking my brain for that for a while. And then I realized, hey, we probably need to use all 3. And I put them down, and what it does is it blocks out, it separates from the rest of the group a clump of 5 squares and lines. So you've got a triangle, you've got a diamond, 2 small lines, and 2 large lines. The ones that are orange, and then some that are blank. Then you're going to use this with your coordinates to find out which letter it is. So you see it says A43-14, which is going to be your first one. I used the orange one for that, or that's a different letter, but B4598 and C8956. So you just place those 3 in those 3 quadrants. It will block out a thing of 5, and then you see what it matches with on your key. Whether or not it's got, like if it's an A, then it's got 2 orange long ones, and then the rest of the shapes are going to be blank. Once you do that, you will find these letters, and then some of them you use multiple times. So I'm going to get into spoilers now, and if you don't want to know the answer, skip ahead to the next puzzle. But here is our answer. Ghosts and Guardians. So you can see here, number 1, that one is a G, H, You just have 3 words. Each line is a letter. And then we plug those in, and voila! Puzzle number 5 is called Goondocks Plunders, and we're going to be using our Goonies shirt, which I really like. It's nice and red, and I like the Goonies. But we're going to be using our little coin map thing. You see the numbers at the bottom have colors, red, blue, and green. So what we're going to do is we take our shirt and we're going to number the letters starting from the left. 1, 2, 3 all the way to 21. Now that we have those numbers, we need to separate these numbers. So what I did is I separated them out into colors, pink, blue, and green. And when you do that, you associate the number that's in there to the letter that's up there. So like first one says pink 1, the second one says pink 2, that would be T and then H. Now the letters are not in order when you do it. You have to try and figure out what the order is. So I separated it to the pink numbers, the blue numbers, and the green numbers, and then what letter they were associated to. Then what I did is I took those letters and put them into unscramblewords.com to see which words they could unscramble to. And then I tried to put them together to where it made sense. And it wasn't too hard to do that. I'm going to get into spoilers now, so I'll talk about the answer. If you don't want to know what the answer is, skip ahead to the next puzzle. But for green, ENSEV, like I knew that was probably 7. So when I had unscrambled it, it did, one of the things it came out to was 7. Then when I unscrambled the others, I got Thieving Heroes 7. But it doesn't sound right. It's out of order. It would make more sense if it was 7 Thieving Heroes. So although there really isn't anything that I was looking at to see what the shirt would tell you what order to put them in, I just unscrambled the words to find what the words would be and then put them in order that made sense for the sentence. So Thieving Heroes 7 kind of sounds like a comic book group, but you know, like the X-Men or something, but it's actually 7 Thieving Heroes, which makes more sense. Then we plug it in, and woohoo! 7 Thieving Heroes. Puzzle number 6 is Fall of Iron, and we're going to need this piece, which you make from your box when you're putting your ghost together. It's the thing that goes in between the ghosts that holds it together. So you just take that part out, and you see all of the little symbols on it. And you're going to use this page and your little key that you print out. So on your key, the first one down here that has a square with 4 in it, you're using that to know which one of these letters to select after you've moved this. So you see here, you want to have it where the diamond is facing you and the double line is facing to your right. That's your starting point in the center. Then you move it in the direction of the other paper. So you see on the top there we have the 2 half moons. So if we're holding our thing in the right direction, we see we have the 2 half moons there. So we would move it towards the half moons, and when it's upright again, then the half moon, the direction you moved it in, you look at your second key to know which one on here, when it lands on, which letter to choose. So we would end up staying here and moving in a direction, and whichever one we land on, the bottom left corner letter, that's the one we would choose because it coincides, a word I can't say, coincides with the direction we just moved it in. Once you do that, you will get the direction and the letters that you're going to end up using. So this is where we'll get into spoilers. If you don't want to know the answer, skip forward to the next puzzle. But here we go. Warmind. So you can see we started in the middle here, and when we moved in our first direction, we ended up with a W, because that was the 2 half moons in the bottom left corner. Then we ended up moving up, and we had a blank spot, so you have to put a blank in there. Then we moved to the right, and we got an A, and so on and so forth. You just end up going all over the place until you figure out every letter that you need. And it spells out Warmind. And then this is where you put it in, and we win the challenge. Woohoo! Now we solved all 6 puzzles, and we have won. Now we get our Guardian key, and next month we will get our Guardian loot. I assume it's going to be something like the Investigate loot, you know, maybe a patch or something that says Guardian on it with a secret order of keys so that we know that we passed it, we won. But thank you guys for watching and sticking around. Again, I'm really sorry that I didn't get this up earlier. I hope I was in time to maybe help a couple of people before the deadline. And I promise next month I will get them up much faster. Hopefully my loot crate comes a bit sooner as well. But if you want to ask questions that I would say in other videos, feel free to send them to Twitter with the hashtag AskKoricon, or on my Discord server in the room Questions for Videos. I don't normally answer a question during these because the videos end up being really long, but if I get any Loot Crate specific questions, I will answer them in Loot Crate videos. So send me questions and I will put them in videos. Comment below, let me know your thoughts on this. How did you solve the puzzles? Were they easy? Were they hard? Did you have any problems? Comment below, let me know, like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, and I will see you on the next video.